Some 43 plus years ago, my wife and I, Joy, were married, and we went through the whole wedding planning thing that you do, and everything went so smooth until the controversy came up. One controversy. You see, my side of the family wanted Lenny Rich's polka band at the reception, and her side of the family wanted Rich Janik's polka band. Believe me, it was a big deal. Well, my mother-in-law didn't like Lenny Rich because his polkas were a little too fast, so we went with Rich Janik's polka band. And we had a lot of people at the reception, 200 plus, and the band was perfect. That whole night, that dance floor was filled from the first song to the last. It was quite a celebration. Everybody had a great time. But I had a concern because in those days, the groom had to pay the liquor bill at the end of the night. And I'd saved up a lot of money, but if you knew both these sides of these families, you never knew if it was enough. And when they brought the bill over, it was only about a third of what I thought it would be. I was so happy. You see, the more they danced, the less they drank. It was great. And so every year for 43 years, I read this gospel and I think to myself, well, I know how they ran out of wine. They didn't have a very good polka band. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. You know, this is a great, great gospel. And St. John gives us this sense of spirituality. He also gives us this wonder of what's going on and a lot of questions. If you go back and read it, you can ask yourself a lot of questions about this wedding and all. When I read it, the first thing that came to my mind was, why did Mary get involved? It seemed kind of odd to me, but not really when you think about it. It's probably compassion. She saw a beautiful ceremony and a beautiful wedding and celebration going on, and she just thought it should keep on going. I think that's what might have happened. But the question that I have is, how do you and I fit in this gospel? And I kept thinking about it, and I think I know the answer. You see, there were 6 water jars there. And when it comes to the Bible, numbers mean something. For instance, if you hear the number 40, and you've heard that plenty of times, that means pay attention, this is important. But the number 6 means imperfection. So there's 6 empty, imperfect water jars. And I think those are you and I. I think we're full of chips and cracks and imperfect in so many ways, every one of us. And at times in our lives, we have a feeling of emptiness. Not all the time, but when things go rough, you can feel very empty. For instance, if you have a job that you love and you go to work and you're surrounded by people with like a toxic attitude, it makes it hard to go to work, but you have to put food on the table. And it wears on you, and you start to feel empty. And then sometimes people get into financial problems, student loans or a credit card debt, or the hot water heater broke and you don't have the money to fix it. And it just seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It makes you feel empty. And then there's relationships, young people that were dating break up, people that were married get divorced, and they end up with some emptiness inside of them. When I talk about emptiness, I'm talking about maybe a mixture of anxiety, stress, hurt, pain, loneliness, and even depression. And it just keeps going through our lives like that. Oh, some of us have health issues, and the pain is there, and doctors can't tell you what it's from or whatever, but you live through it. You can't do the things you used to do, though you love to do those things. And it's even harder when someone has a disease that's incurable, If you've ever had a parent or a friend that had Alzheimer's, you know what I'm talking about, how it just drains you, trying to take care of them and to visit with them. And I think the worst one of all is when someone dies. You know, a friend, a sibling, a mother or father. But I think worst of all, it's when a spouse dies. And that emptiness can last, even if it was a year ago or 20 years ago, that emptiness can last a long, long time. But here's the thing. This gospel tells me we have something to take care of that emptiness, and that's Mary. Now, I know our Protestant brothers and sisters don't see Mary eye to eye like we do, and we have to make sure we're clear on that we do not worship Mary, we do not idolize her. We have a devotion to her, and we love her, and she's there to help us. But I think one of the good things about that is Mary went through her life with emptiness as well. I'm almost certain of it. You talk about a wedding, you know, way before that, I'm sure as a young lady, she wanted to have the celebration for her wedding, all the dancing, all the food, all the songs. But she couldn't. She was pregnant with Jesus. Everything had to be hush. And so her friends and her didn't get to celebrate that. And theologians tell us that Joseph died before Jesus started his ministry. Well, I'm sure she was empty at that. And I'm positive she was empty at the foot of the cross, watching her son suffer and die. So we have Mary to help us fill our emptiness. She can't turn the water into wine, but she can go to Jesus. And she says those powerful words, do whatever he tells you. And I think those are the words that should be in us when we're feeling down and we're feeling empty and we're feeling drained. And it'll come up sooner or later. If you're on top of the world now, sooner or later it may happen to you. But we can go to her. And she can go to her son. That's the beauty of it. And guess what? He's the one that's going to fill you. He's the one that's going to make a miracle. He's the one that's going to fill you with his love. It's a beautiful thing. And Mary is our avenue to him sometimes when we just feel drained. And I think that's what this gospel is about, is having another source to go to get to our Lord. And it's a special relationship between Mary and Jesus, one we don't quite understand, but I'm sure he'll take your emptiness to our Lord and he'll fill you with his love and compassion.